Storm of Light by Richard A. Neck. Tyrael had sacrificed his status as an archangel of the high heavens in order to protect Sanctuary and the human race from destruction. He had been tasked as the aspect of justice to fight against the burning hells in the eternal conflict. But after Diablo, the prime evil, had been defeated, Imperius, the archangel of valor, wanted to strike at the human world, convinced that their mixed lineage made them susceptible to corruption and ultimately a threat to the heavens themselves. Tyrael had shed his wings and become mortal, plummeting to Sanctuary as a shooting star that crashed down on the Tristram Cathedral. He awakened in the ruins of the cathedral with no memory of his past, his sword Eldruin shattered into pieces. The Horadrim Deckard Cain and his adopted daughter Leah cared for him, helping him recover his strength and slowly regain his memories. Tyrael witnessed the horror of the cultists who served Diablo, led by the witch Magda, and he fought alongside the humans as they defended the cathedral from attack. But Magda murdered Cain and managed to capture Tyrael, and as he was being tortured, he began to have visions of his past and remembered who he was. He escaped from the cultists and returned to the high heavens to seek help from the Anguirus Council, but he was met with hostility from Imperius, who believed he had betrayed the angels. Tyrael learned of the Black Soul Stone, a powerful artifact that had been created by the Horadric mage Zoltun Kula and was capable of holding the essences of the great evils. Tyrael was horrified to discover that Leah, who had a mysterious connection to the stone, was slowly being corrupted by Diablo. The prime evil used her as a vessel to return and launch an attack against the high heavens, and he and his brothers Baal and Mephisto very nearly destroyed the Crystal Arch, the source of angelic power. Tyrael knew he could not convince the council to protect Sanctuary, and after witnessing the birth of a new angel tainted by the stone's darkness, he chose to leave the heavens and return. He assembled a group of warriors and spellcasters, humans with the blood of angels and demons, descendants of the firstborn Nephilim, and led them to Tristram. Jacob of Stalbreak had carried Eldruin for many years, and Shannara the wizard had discovered a unique ability to mimic the angelic resonance that created the light song. Mikolov the monk had tapped into a source of power that made him stronger than any other human, and Cullen the scholar had a vast knowledge of ancient texts and lore. Ginvir, the barbarian, had survived the Rage Plague, and Zale the necromancer was an outcast from his own kind. Tyrael tasked them to help him steal the Black Soul Stone and hide it away in the lost city of the Nephilim, a place where neither angels nor demons could reach them. They fought against a horde of demons in the graveyard at Tristram, and then journeyed to Bramwell, where they learned that the city's inhabitants were being terrorized by strange, black-winged creatures. The commander of the knights, Borad Nar, a former student of General Torian, told them about the disappearances of his citizens, his own haunting dreams, and the secret Zakarum repository where the Horadrim found clues leading to the lost city. From Bramwell, they traveled to Westmarch and joined forces with Lorath Nar, Borad's son and a knight under General Torian. Lorath explained that the Templar, a radical sect of the Zakarum faith, were gaining power in the city, and that the knights were planning to attack them at the Church of the Holy Order. Tyrael and the Horadrim agreed to help them defeat the Templar, knowing that the entrance to the lost city of the Nephilim lay somewhere underneath the church. The knights attacked the church, and a fierce battle ensued, but the Horadrim managed to slip away unnoticed to the lower levels, where Cullen used a key he had found in the Zakarum repository to unlock a hidden door. They passed through a shimmering wall and entered a series of catacombs and halls that appeared to be naturally formed. They walked for many hours through these caverns, which eventually led to a circular chamber containing the tomb of Rakis. This was the lost city of the Nephilim, a place of great power and beauty where their ancestors had taken refuge from the dangers of the outside world. The city was protected by a powerful spell that prevented angels and demons from entering, and Tyrael knew this was the safest place to hide the Black Soul Stone. They celebrated their discovery, but the mood quickly turned grim when they realized that they now had to invade the heavens and steal the stone from the Anguirus Council. Tyrael took them through the wastelands, a dangerous and constantly shifting realm on the fringes of Pandemonium, in order to help them prepare for the emotional and spiritual challenges they would face in the heavens. The wastelands reflected their inner thoughts and fears, and each of them experienced a unique and terrifying vision. Shannara, who had been hiding her own emotions for many years, learned to harness them and use them to amplify her power. She had the unique ability to mimic the angelic resonance of the light song, and Tyrael explained that she would be instrumental in their mission. Jacob, haunted by the touch of the phantom and the loss of his sword, had been struggling to keep his own doubts and fears under control. But in the Gardens of Hope, a beautiful realm in the heavens, the illusions began to fade, and he was overwhelmed by his emotions, seeing visions of his dead father and the destruction of his village. His scream alerted the angels to their presence, and the Horadrim were forced to flee as Shannara's magic failed, and they were revealed as humans disguised as Luminarae. Cullen used the Nephilim key to protect Tyrael from the attacking angels, but Thomas was struck down and killed by the Sicarii, and Tyrael and Cullen were captured and taken to the dungeons of the Fist. Meanwhile, Mikolov created a diversion, drawing away the angels with a tremendous explosion of power, and Zale was cut off from the others. Jacob, Shannara, and Ginvir made their way to the council chamber and stole the stone, but Zale was forced to confront 2 Luminarae guards and a newly born angel that had been tainted by the stone's evil. He managed to kill them all, but Shannara's magic failed completely, and he was left exposed. Tyrael awakened in the Fist, chained to the wall, and learned that Balzael never intended to follow Imperius's orders. Balzael wanted to use the stone himself to destroy Sanctuary, and would let Jacob and the others escape with it in order to take it from them later. He forced Tyrael to watch as he tortured Cullen, wanting him to lose hope and turn against humanity. Jacob, Shannara, and Ginvir arrived in the courts of justice, where they found Zale acting strangely. He attacked Jacob, mistaking him for one of the phantoms, before they learned that Tyrael, Cullen, and Thomas had been taken. Jacob took the satchel, determined to finish the mission, and they headed to the prison to save their friends. Tyrael gave in to despair, feeling the corruptive influence of the Black Soul Stone and the Chalice, and prepared to kill Cullen as Balzael had commanded. Just then, Jacob and the others arrived and attacked. A fierce battle ensued, and the Sicarii nearly killed Jacob before Cullen used the Nephilim key to defend him. Jacob regained his feet and used the key to kill the Sicarii, who exploded into pieces. Tyrael, freed from his bonds and the influence of the Chalice, joined the fight, but Balzael escaped. Tyrael chased after him, leaving the others to return to the portal. Zale realized that Jacob was dying and that they had no way to carry the stone back to Sanctuary without the satchel, so he sacrificed his hand to heal Jacob. His hand came to life and stitched Jacob's wound, fusing to his flesh and transferring some of Zale's power. They escaped through the gardens just as Mikolov arrived, pursued by a horde of Luminarae. He led them away as Jacob, Shannara, Gunvir, and Zale went through the portal to the Nephilim city. They were devastated to discover that Tyrael was still missing, but he soon returned, having killed Balzael with Imperius's help. The other archangels had voted to let Tyrael return to Sanctuary and act as guardian of the stone. The Horadrim were victorious, and they sealed the Black Soul Stone away in the tomb of Rakis, where it would remain forever hidden. In the aftermath of the battle for the heavens, Tyrael addressed his team of Horadrim and thanked them for their bravery and sacrifice. He acknowledged that their victory came at a great cost, with the loss of Thomas and Zale's hand. He asked them to take time to rest and recover from the stone's corruptive influence before continuing their work to protect Sanctuary. Tyrael planned to remain in Sanctuary, and he left the remaining Horadrim behind to guard the tomb of Rakis and the Black Soul Stone. Meanwhile, the Guardian had possessed Norlin and was imprisoned with the remaining Templar in the dungeons underneath the Church of the Holy Order. He killed the other prisoners, transforming his body into something monstrous, and prepared to take the stone for himself and unleash his death angels upon the world. The Guardian had always existed, a dark entity that embodied the emptiness, the void, the inevitability of death itself. The firstborn Nephilim, Rathma, had worshipped him as Tragul, believing him to be a creature of balance, the guardian of sanctuary. Rathma had dedicated his life to understanding and controlling the balance between light and darkness, order and chaos, and his followers, the priests of Rathma, the necromancers, had taken up his cause. But the guardian was not about balance at all. He had tricked Rathma into believing that sanctuary was a place where the two sides of the eternal conflict could meet, where peace and harmony could be achieved. And Rathma, obsessed with maintaining the balance, had failed to see the darkness that was slowly consuming him. The Guardian cared only about death and destruction, and he would not rest until Sanctuary and the heavens had been wiped out entirely. With the help of Balzael and the Sicarii, he had gathered his forces, a group of powerful beings created from darkness and fueled by the souls of the dead, with black, insect-like wings and a relentless thirst for murder. He had been biding his time, allowing the Black Soulstone to corrupt the heavens and the archangels. When Tyrell and his Horadrim had arrived in Westmarch, the Guardian was ready. He had used his phantoms to watch them and ensure their success, to lead them to the stone and make sure they stole it. He had also manipulated them in other ways, using their emotions and fears against them, driving Jacob to the point of madness in the Gardens of Hope, and turning Tyrell's own sense of justice and his love for sanctuary into despair, causing him to attack Cullen in the courts of justice. The Guardian knew that he was close now to fulfilling his purpose. The stone was in sanctuary, and he would soon have it in his grasp. With it, he would be able to unleash his death angels upon the world and bring about the end of all things. The Horadrim had been victorious, but their victory was short-lived. They had no idea what they had unleashed upon Sanctuary. The darkness was coming, and it would not be stopped. If you enjoyed this summary, please consider subscribing to the channel.